Hey everyone, back at this Man on the Street MOTS Part 6, I believe. I wanted to talk about setting up new cities, and this came from my observation in one of our southwest cities, and just something that we all would have seen before. How bike men, the majority of the people, maybe not majority, but in most of our cities now, you notice that northerners, uh, the bike are like the bike riders, young people who have just migrated downwards and need a job. How do I, assume this is because some of them don't know the city at all. Or when you want to, board a bike or you want to use an Okada, they don't know the city. They just tell you, "Do you know the place? Let's go. I will learn." So you can tell when someone is 2 months on the job, 1 month on the job, or 6 months on the job, or still getting familiar with the city. So I just made the observation that any random, settlement in a city like Akure or Ibadan, it's a new place. People have built houses, somewhere remote. They need to get there on a daily basis. And in Nigeria, that is basically how cities are formed. So there is no infrastructure first model to planning our cities. There is for the rich estates, but a government, program that sets that up, it's not common here. I'm sure in Europe, in America, there are those examples, whether through government or through PPP arrangements. But what you have noticed in Nigeria is that you buy a land, you go there, you build your house. Local government is not active, and I have friends who are very concerned about this trend, and everybody should be concerned, and that's because it ultimately leads to many environmental problems, many infrastructure issues, gas that should be piped to households for ease of access, ease of use becomes a problem for everybody. You carry your gas to go and fill. Drainages are not well mapped out. Sewage systems are not, well planned out. Waste is also a problem, and cities become dirty because those plans are not in place. The question then becomes who should do. Depending it depends on what kind of society you are in. If you are, in a society where government is fully functional, and that should be the typical ideal society, right? Fully functional, you know that those things will be in place. But what happens in a country like Nigeria where there's inadequate government action, what you call state capacity, and then people just build. You can't stop people from building. I don't want to go off tangent, but the observation I made that made me want to make this video is that people settle by themselves. People go to a place and they settle into the system that works there. And what I believe is much easier to approach is when you have autonomous communities. If it's an estate, you can already see it in Lekki, upwards. Estates are now the thing, and these are built by private owners, by people who see an opportunity, buy land, and build. But then again, the question is this is too expensive for the regular Joe. So, what then becomes a middle ground? If I can't afford the ones in Lekki, I can afford smaller communities, whether they are far from Lagos. And that refers to Coastal Road, for instance. One of my egmons was talking about the fact that that line from Lekki all the way to Ibeju Lekki and all the way across the Coastal Road will come to Ondo State and further. And you will continue to find that the better way to approach this, in my view, given the context that we live in, which is Nigeria, government ineptitude, politics, government as politics business, if you are not able to change that system in a matter of years, and when I mean change, you need to flip it. It won't be gradual where you are facing out and some people are still trying to bring it back now. You have to do it in 2 years or 4 years. Phase it and be assured that the new guys who will run government will be accountable, will be responsible, and all of that, and they will take it on, right? It wouldn't be a matter of I come in, I want to do my own legacy project, and I had abandoned what should be a continuum. Back to the subject, private estates work better. They are just super expensive. And my own assumption for, as one of the reasons why estates are so expensive is because the land market is not a free market. It is obstacled by government. You have to. And in the same vein, if you refer to the Land Use Act, you see that governors have power over land. They gift it to whomever they consider, worthy. We can talk about military from the military from 1970s or 80s who have, some vast land somewhere and they just claim it as military area or government reserved area just by fiat. That's not a free market. If you don't unbundle or leave the land alone for people to, trade easily or to securitize or whatever, then you would have held back a lot of people from the opportunity that is possible from land sale. I'm going off tangent already, but sustainable, building cities, whether sustainable or not, can be decentralized such that people can approach the ones they can afford because it's helpful. Another angle that I'm missing out is infrastructure. If I cannot afford Lekki, if there's a road that leads all the way to Bahrain in Ondo State or Ishu and Koko, and I know it's safe out there, there's a road that leads there, I only have to drive 3 hours to get to the biggest city, then I want to consider cheap land in those areas. So infrastructure is also, an angle. And I haven't made enough content, but my position, generally about roads, if government is failing at it terribly, is that we should put it on the market. But that's talk for another day. See you on the next